Hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No. Thank you. Thank you. No, please, please, please. Thank you. Thank you. Well, the pause in the music and the lull in your applause tells me it's now my time to talk. And no, you're the best. And the words I'm going to say are, we now find ourselves at a... I love you too. We now find ourselves at a junction. There's a crossroads in the path ahead. This is the time for a decision. Those were metaphors for choice. It's time to move on from the troubles of the past. We need to heal. I'm a fan of uniting, not dividing, being different, but also the same. I don't believe in retrospectivism. I don't believe retrospectivism is appropriate when discussing these things that have recently happened. The shadow of socialism, that is. We must look forward, not backwards, upwards, not forwards, and always twirling towards freedom. Today I stand before you at a podium, speaking to you with words, and I ask that you judge me not by my words, but by the actions I am yet to complete. And now it's time to end with a sincere, colloquial anecdote. When I was not as old as I am today, I dreamed of one day being older, and I believe you must all do the same. Thank you. Welcome to But Suddenly, it's fucking roasting.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Lovely.
You read that
Lovely.
very well. Good job. Yeah, that was very, very well read. Good job, buddy. So we're here.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Seems like it's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a
long time.
I'm wearing my parachute shirt. It's just...
We're all
last time we did it was like, what was it, like 12 degrees or something last time we did this, and now it's 30 something.
Yeah, it's gone a bit.
So it's gonna be
27. It says on my computer.
It's gonna be a low energy stream.
Cloudy.
Pretty downbeat.
Yeah. So it's been longer than anticipated. We had a exchange of writers because schedules mismatching. So Phil is our writer for this week. Phil, you likely are more well read over that last episode than any one of us. Knowing your fastidious research, you've probably read it like 4 or 5 times by now.
I read your script again, which was episode 10, and then I read Adam's a couple of times as well, just to ground myself.
Here, check out my glossary and index that I made.
Yeah.
Quotes, I got them.
Yeah, you asked him some sort of recap, I guess.
You know what? Credit where credit is due to Adam. It's so much easier to recap now, and I love it.
I'll see to
that. For now, in this instance, it's a lot easier. Phil, go for it.
Do we have some sort of transition, or do we not do that anymore?
Oh, yeah, I've got a tradition.
Oh,
I need noises though. Do you want to go for it? Noise me.
Luke. Lovely.
That was one of your best.
That was a good one.
It shows like how good we are by that was being the best one. But yeah, sorry, Phil. Carry on.
No, it's cool. So at the end of, anyone else can chip in at any point. But at the end of Iolo's last script, which was episode 10, that was like the conclusion of our first series, wasn't it? Where essentially all of the characters were scattered off into time. And Adam's interpretation of that was to go back to the beginning of time. Start again from the very beginning. So there's a beautiful episode in which we met the narrator of the Bible, I guess. And his sort of...
I feel like he was more like the narrator of existence.
The narrator of existence, sure. And yeah, he was trying to cobble together kind of like the beginnings of society, and started off with a god who wasn't particularly... But Adam, do you want to chip in at this point with
No, all I was going to say is I wasn't a big fan of Adam's interpretation because that suggests that we're kind of bypassing it entirely. But continue, carry on.
It's now my interpretation.
Luke's interpretation of the beginning of time. So I wanted to kind of, so at the end of your last scripts, the narrator's kind of ripping up.
He was like kind of like an omnipresent being nudging along creation. So clearly he had some sort of previous knowledge of what was meant to happen because he was sort of like ushering God through lines he should be saying.
Yeah, but having some difficulties and frustrations with how his gods were turning out, essentially.
Yeah, so it essentially ends with a clean slate again, basically. So yeah.
I imagine he essentially just sort of like kind of dubbed that reality a loss. Although this, I'm a bit scared of like what's my interpretation and like what is like to be shown off now. But like I interpreted it as like he considered that creation a loss and he's and restarted again. So
that's the fun thing about this, though, isn't it? You can kind of essentially do whatever you want with it. And that's my way of saying, whatever I've done, don't worry about it. You can discard it if you're not a fan.
This is my pre-apology.
How have you find the actual writing of it, Phil? Like,
it's good. I've not had as much time as I hoped I would, so I've been kind of like squeezing it in here and there. I had an idea relatively early as to what I wanted to do with it, and then there's various time constraints and stuff, so I've just been doing like half an hour here and there. But I've enjoyed it. I just enjoy like writing silly dialogue between characters and stuff, and trying to imagine which of you guys is going to do different voices and whatever.
Yeah. It's like it kind of has to be by what it is, be dialogue heavy, and it's like the funnest part of it. I think I thoroughly enjoyed God and narrator just chatting away last time. I was like, I'd be happy with the entire episode of this. Obviously, we had like progressions into the other things, but I was like, this is great. This is like brilliant. Like inept God being dragged by his heels through like the creation story was the best thing ever. I loved it. So I'm looking forward to more.
I would say I'm glad you said that. Because obviously, as it's often tradition, I've taken Adam's last page and used that as a start point for my scripts, where the narrator's ripped up the Bible or whatever. A little bit of recasting on that because I was playing the narrator, so I've given that to Burge. And little spoiler warning for Burge.
Yep.
That character is going to feature a fair bit. It's probably going to be your main character, so choose your voice wisely. You're gonna be using it a lot.
Don't go Nordic, Luke.
Yeah, really
South African.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love that. That'd be just you might have some difficulty along the way maintaining it. I suppose.
You just spent some time in Iceland. You should have let down by now.
And then, there's a couple of directions on character voices and stuff, but otherwise, feel free to interpret it as you please. Luke, you've got a specific direction of one of your characters, so I'd encourage you to lean into it as much as possible.
Okay.
And Iolo, one of your early characters, I want you to think of Sebulba from Phantom Menace, the guy who's like boxed over Anakin. That's the boy.
Okay,
yeah.
Like I was gonna ask for a reference point because like
try to guess. I mean, you've got a few characters, so try to guess which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, Phil, do you not remember me you saying that you were going to pull back?
Phil's turned into David Fincher.
And go. Adam, you play all the ladies.
Excellent.
Still a mix of characters, but I don't think I've hit you quite as hard as I have done in the past in terms of silly voices.
I appreciate that, Phil.
I think there's some fun to be had for you, I think.
Yeah. And knowing Phil's track record, let's see how God dies. Christians, avert your eyes. Right, let's go for the script. Luke, hit me with them noises. Always a joy. Great stuff. Yeah, let's hit it.
Do it. So, episode 12, Creation Redux, Sun, Sand, and the Greatest Ruler of Them All. Written by Iolo Roberts. So this is, again, continuation of start of Adam's thing again. The narrator looks upwards, now aiming his tirade.
Seriously, this was the last straw. You haven't listened to reason since the bloody flood. I warned you, didn't I? You don't leave me with a choice.
It's perfect, Burge. Hold that level. The narrator slams down his trusty book. The table shudders under it. The book is considerably thicker than when we last saw it. Jesus stirs momentarily at the thud.
Let me wash your feet, Simon.
It's time for a fresh start.
Sorry,
Again.
There's another recast. With that, the narrator begins tearing out pages from the book and flinging them into the air. He manically races through the book. Page after page is ripped from the spine. The paper's hurled upwards. The torn pages whirl in the room, increasing in number, gradually filling the space until you can see the narrator no more. Fade to white. Silence. Exterior. Perfect whiteness. We're zoomed in on a pure white visage. As the camera pulls back slowly, we realise this is the crisp white suit of the narrator, sat comfortably on a large rock in the centre of a clearing, the picture of serenity.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, yada yada.
The narrator glances to perfect verge. The narrator glances towards. I'm just going to keep saying perfect verge. Perfect. The narrator glances towards a nearby pond. A figure emerges, looking bedraggled. He looks meekly at the narrator and tentatively clears his throat.
Then there was light.
The narrator clasps a palm to his face and exhales.
No, just no.
The narrator looks away to the middle distance. God seems to be adjusting his pants and scratching his posterior.
This clearly won't work. We're falling down the same rabbit hole, as 'twere. How can I entrust omnipotence onto a being with such questionable hygiene?
God promptly extracts his hand from his arse, looking glum.
Come to that. How can I entrust any amount of power to just one single being?
God, distracted once more, has begun to pick his nose. The narrator clasps his hands together and God vanishes into nothingness.
That's better. Now, why settle for one divine figure when one can delegate different duties to different deities? We can have a god of the sun, and a god of the mountains, a god of the land, and god of the skies.
Ground beneath the narrator transforms into something altogether more sandy. As the narrator rattles off his list of godly figures, they pop into existence as spectres, still seemingly being formed by the imagination of the narrator. They're humanoid figures. In several cases, they appear to have the heads of various animals. Some of them seem to be carrying strange artifacts.
Yes, you'll do nicely.
Bon. The shaded figures of the new gods begin to take a more tangible form. The most notable is Ra, who is the head of a falcon and carries a large scepter.
I shall gladly hold dominion over the sun, and, in turn, the darkness left in its wake.
Lovely.
Yes, and I shall hold dominion over the underworld, death, resurrection, and the floods that regulate the Nile.
Several more gods pop into existence, talking in tandem. The narrator looks on.
A fine array. And now we must spread your good deeds and build the world in your image. Only it needs to be natural. I'll imbue you with power, and then the people will come to worship you of their own volition, even if I have to help them along a little.
The gods grow in numbers as the narrator's vision comes to fruition. Time speeds up as the world forms around the gods. We zoom out and see the passage of time. Rudimentary civilizations are formed, torn down, and born anew, each time a little more advanced. Cut to exterior day, ancient Egyptian village. We pan through a typical village bathed in sun, with people going about their day-to-day business, tending to the land, farming for crops, and looking after various animals. An assortment of market stalls is bustling with activity, various traders selling their wares. We found our narrator strolling around the stalls, dressed in his classy white suit. He's now adorned himself with a smart satchel, a pair of snazzy aviators, and a cheap sun hat. A few of the traders are chatting among themselves.
Okay, I was going to ask, it's been a tough week. No one wants my lovely fish.
That's Watto.
Fresh from I know, I don't know. It's
what's either or Watto.
All good. It's all good.
Great.
Okay,
it's all great.
Fresh from the Nile. Lovely bit of crab, fresh from the Nile.
No one pays any heed. Sabu's shoulders slump as he steps back.
Is this a woman?
Yes. Yeah, I do that too. You can just bring it.
Don't know why I asked. Well, shouting louder is going to help. I keep telling you, you're too expensive.
What are you talking about? I offer fair trade to everyone.
Fair trade? Just this morning you said to a passing customer, and I quote, 2 of my carp for a night with your wife.
Exactly, fair trade.
A fair trade would be a square of textile for a fillet of fish or something. It's got to be an equal trade-off.
That's what I'm doing. It's bartering.
Just getting more and more Monty Python at this point.
Yeah. Full of life of Brian at this point.
Sorry, Gilly. Do that again, please.
That's what I'm doing. It's bartering.
That's not bartering. That's just you being a sleazy old bastard.
Nonsense.
Brian?
It's part of my charm.
Suit yourself. But if things don't improve, I'm moving my stall to the other side. Your fresh fish is starting to stink.
You'd miss me too much. Anyway, it's not just me. Meku says he has the same problem. No sales for days.
I don't think that's where you're going to go with that, Adam, but I enjoyed it.
Sorry, mate. Sorry if I've
That's
thrown
fine.
anything left field.
Yeah, fair enough. The narrator, who has been eavesdropping on our conversation, stepped forward.
Salutations, friends. A wonderful morning for trade. And praise be to Ra for this most beautiful of days.
Pah! The sun is the sun. Don't waste my time with this talk of gods. Are you here to trade or not?
It's going all Ramon.
I know, yeah. Phil,
Service with a smile.
What's that, Yellow?
I thought you were going to pull back. I'm having to do this voice.
Sorry, man. Sorry, this is how heavy this work.
I was just kidding. Go for it.
Service with a smile.
Oh, I wouldn't be so hasty to dismiss the gods, good sir. Praise be to Ra for the harvest his son will bring. And praise be to Hat Mahit for your bountiful collection of fish.
Wow.
These are all real gods. Well, all based on Egyptian mythology.
It hasn't rained for 200 days. Look around you. As for the fish, I did that with just my wits and my bare hands. Why should anyone else get the credit?
The narrator furrows his brow.
Look, mister, you seem a decent sort, but I'd be careful with all this talk of gods. Word is the pharaoh isn't too fond of the deities. If you want to praise anyone, praise her.
Narrator begins searching for his satchel.
I can see you're going to take some persuading, but that's okay.
He produced a small idol from his bag.
Aha. Now this little beauty is Renenet. She's the goddess of good fortune. Stick her on your table and you'll have queues for hours.
The narrator plonks the idol down on Sabu's table. Sabu scowls at this and wafts his arms across the table, knocking it into the sand.
Take your filthy driftwood away from my fresh fish.
The narrator picks up the idol and begins to move on.
Sorry. Very well, very well. I know a skeptic when I see one. But you let me know if you change your mind.
The narrator blends with the crowd at the market.
Didn't have to be rude to him. Seems like he was just trying to help.
You're too naive. I know a swindler when I see one.
You say so. Like I said, this god talk is only going to bring trouble from the temple.
Figure it out. Interior. Bay. Temple of Karnak. In the Grand Temple of Karnak resides the grandest pharaoh of them all, Queen Cleopatra. We find her slumped on her throne, looking somewhat despondent. She's accompanied by her servant Hassani, as well as another servant and a couple of stocky guards. She's also with her footman, that is to say, a kneeling man on whom she rests her feet. Sorry.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You don't have to do it. How have you interpreted?
No, I cannot.
You've got a couple of monologues with this character later on.
Okay,
just to say.
I'm just gonna put this is straight.
It's fine.
You're telling me someone's going around spouting falsehoods about the gods and earning them praise whilst I'm here slaving away.
Her actual slave grunts. She ignores it.
Slaving away to help the citizens.
That's the crux of it, yes.
Seen it myself. Convinced a group of children that if they prayed every night, they'd never go hungry. Got a couple of our lads tailing him as we speak.
Preposterous. Bring him to me. I want him mummified. I want him petrified. I want his
Head on a stick?
I want his head on a stick. Yes. Do that for me, won't you?
Of course. We can do that. No problem. Only, do I have permission to suggest a more tactful notion?
Permission granted. Make it quick.
It's just, regardless of what we think of this fool, it does rather seem he has the gift of the gab. Perhaps we can use this to our advantage?
How's it an advantage to have someone blustering on about the gods?
Maybe he can bluster on about you. Sorry.
Maybe he can bluster on about you, ma'am.
Exactly. Perhaps we can use your considerable powers of persuasion and influence to have him spread the good word of your deeds instead.
Definitely. Cleopatra mulls this over. Hasani and the guards take their leave. The other servant, who acts as a personal herald for the Queen, has been watching on. He steps forward to address the Pharaoh.
Permission to express concern, Your Greatness.
Very well. Out with it.
It's just, you seem to be awfully trusting of this Hasani character. He's only been in your service for, what, 2 moon cycles? He seems to have earned your respect awfully quickly.
Oh, sweet Chauncey.
Call back.
Do I detect a hint of jealousy from my longest-serving gentleman?
No, my lady, it's just, I worry about outsiders. He dresses awfully peculiar, don't you think?
Oh, Chauncey, you reek of jealousy. It's called style. And Chauncey,
Ma'am?
never question me again.
Enjoyed that. Exterior, market stall, sometime later that day. The sun is beginning to set. Anna's stall is nearly empty. It looks like she's had a steady day of trade. Sabu, arms folded and fed up, has his eyes firmly on the cases of unsold fish that are turning rotten on his counter.
I'm calling it for the night. If this keeps up, I'm going back to the farm.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. Maybe tomorrow will be a better day.
But before she can finish her point, interrupted by the billowing sound of a salesman pushing a cart around.
Fresh fish from the Nile, fresh fish from the Nile, only the finest carp, fresh from the Nile. Last of the day now, folks. It's been a bumper day. Keep your wives well oiled with only the finest carp, fresh from the Nile.
A crowd of people surround the cart, throwing fine wares and copper pieces at the merchant. In a plea for the last of his fish, we notice one of the narrator's merchant idols proudly adorning the cart.
One at a time, just enough to go around, and there'll be a fresh batch in the morning.
Sabu is watching on, aghast.
You must be joking me. That slimy chancer, that fish is nearly a week old. How?
Anna taps Sabu on the shoulder and points to the idol.
See that? Maybe that charlatan was onto something.
Exterior, market stall, the next morning.
It's weirdly easier to do than my own actual voice.
We're seeing the real Adam here, folks.
The traders are out and about early as the sun begins to rise. There's already a steady flow of customers hopping between the stalls. The narrator is wandering around contentedly, basking in the glory of his gods. The stall holders all seem to be doing roaring trade, having all acquired one of the merchant's idols. Even Sabu seems to have a change of fortunes.
You there? Buy fish?
Sure. How much?
Well, fish like this, she is rare. Make me an offer.
10 coppers.
10 copper? You insult, Sabu. 15?
Fine.
Good day to you, and praise to the gods.
He hands over the coins. The narrator, who's been watching on, departs the area, content with his work is done. A couple of guards mulling around in the distance seem to be keeping tabs on events. They're whispering among themselves and eyeing up the narrator as he leaves. Later that day, interior infirmary. We're in a busy, overheated infirmary in the heart of the town. A guard watches on, stern looking in the face of the assorted ailments. Several people with injuries are being tended to by healers with bandages and various salves. One such patient seems to be in some distress. How do you deviate from the Anna voice?
Yeah, I know. The other voice would be great for this part. But, so tell me again how you came to injure your leg.
I told you. I was on the farm. The sun got in my eyes and I didn't see my rake on the floor. Next thing I know, I'm back with the rake sticking out of my leg.
The patient takes a deep gulp. There's a large gash in his leg. The nurse finishes mixing something and portions it off onto a bandage.
Well, that was rather obtuse of you, wasn't it? Hold still now. This will hurt me more than it hurts you.
What?
It's just a saying, child.
Doesn't make any sense.
The matron ignores him as she brusquely applies the salve to the open wound. The patient eyes widen and he lets out a yelp.
Mother of...
He screams, disturbing the other patients, some of whom have similar injuries, others who seem to be afflicted by some kind of illness. Some of the patients are arriving and groaning as the narrator waltzes in, whistling a tune to himself as he slips off his aviators.
My, what do we have here?
Enter Birch. He looks around the room, surveying the afflicted as they groan in the overcrowded room. The narrator pinches his nose.
That would do. And so it was that the smell was gone, replaced with a delightful floral bouquet.
The smell dissipates and is indeed replaced with a sweet floral aroma. The patients either don't notice or don't care, preoccupied by their ailments.
Better. Now, friends, you didn't suffer so. What if I told you your suffering could end today?
A few of the patients look up towards the narrator, desperate to hear what he has to say.
Not with these cheap salves and cotton rags, but with the power of prayer and good faith.
A particularly red-faced patient butts in.
Fuck your faith. I need medicine.
The narrator looks to him with pity in his voice.
Oh, good sir, I'm so sorry for your suffering. And so it was that the grumpy cunt perished where he lay. Painfully.
The patient dies loudly. Perfect.
And the Oscar goes to.
The narrator bows his head for a moment, feigning some sort of respect.
Now, where were we? Ah, yes, Heka, the goddess of good health and wellness. She'll sort you all out in a dash.
So many Wikipedia pages. The patients look on, uncertain. The matron is running around, tending to people, ignoring the narrator.
It's quite simple, really. All we need is a little mantra. So, repeat after me. Praise be to Heka and the good health she brings us.
Most of the patients chime in. Some are a little meek as they recite.
Praise be to Heka and the good health she brings us.
Good. Again.
Praise be to
Praise be to
Heka.
Heka
And the good health she brings
us.
Once more, with feeling.
Praise be to Heka and the good health she brings us.
That was lovely. The narrator waves his hands flamboyantly. The patients carry on the chant and look to be instantly healed. Some of them get out of bed, testing out their healed limbs for the first time in weeks.
Now, doesn't that feel better? And all it took was a little bit of faith and divine intervention. Be sure to tell your friends of this salvation.
The narrator strolls off, leaving the infirmary. As he departs, a hand clasped on the shoulder. It's one of the guards from earlier, alongside an especially burly companion and the Pharaoh's manservant, Hassani, dressed in a smart cotton tunic.
I think you should come with us.
Oh, really? And why would I want to do that?
Simple. Pharaoh wants a word, and she ain't asking politely.
Ah, I see. Well, there will be no need for brute force. I shall be very glad to meet her.
We're pleased to hear you're amenable, although protocol decrees that we need to bind your wrists. You know how it is.
The servant gestures to the burly guard, who grunts and places shackles tightly around the hands of the narrator. The narrator shrugs in compliance.
Have it your way, although the shackles loosen to a more tolerable level.
The narrator nods, satisfied. The guards and the servant don't seem to have noticed anything as they lead him away.
Oh, and I'm afraid we're in for something of a trek. Just let me know if you need any water.
Cut to exterior, Temple of Karnak, A. We see the narrator being led up the stairs to the Grand Temple of Karnak. The guards look exhausted as they march up the steps. The narrator looks as serene as ever, taking in the sight of the temple.
Rather wonderful setting for your leader.
You know, only the best for our Cleo. We need to tend to her every desire. Come on, not far now.
They carry on up the steps. A guard at the top waves them through to the Great Hall. Giant statues of pharaohs bust line the walls. Cleopatra comes in sight, sat on an ostentatious throne, lined with gold and jewels. She has one foot resting on her trusty footman. She looks a little bored as she surveys her nails. The herald welcomes her to the group. The narrator is kept in his shackles.
All hail the mighty Cleopatra, ruler of Alexandria, queen of the Nile, and conqueror of the gods. All will quake in her exalted presence, and shall only speak when addressed directly.
Cleopatra looks up from her nails.
You know, I once brought warmth and comfort to an alien child with a mere utterance of my voice. I ended a decades-long Grecian trade dispute with a simple smile. I brought the end to the hunger and starvation of thousands by opening up a new route on the Nile. I had pyramids and temples built by sheer will and charisma. My deeds are many and well known. So tell me, why the fuck must I endure the endless tales of miracles performed by these so-called gods?
Well, it's...
Silence!
Lovely. The guards shudder, straightening up. Hatani looks up, focused. The narrator swallows, looks as if he's about to speak, but decides to hold back.
It was a rhetorical question. You're lucky I don't have you decapitated where you stand. You're lucky I don't feed you to the piranhas. You're lucky that my servant here thinks you may have some use to us.
He gestures to Hassani, who nods solemnly. The narrator quirks an eyebrow.
Whatever lies and mischief you have been spreading through my villages will cease immediately. But we know talent when we see it. I will have you go forth and spread the word of my deeds, far and wide, high and low. If an inkling of praise is uttered in favour of these pathetic deities, then it shall be your head on a spike.
The narrator nods as Cleopatra's stern words reverberate around the hall.
I believe I've made myself clear, so leave, and never darken my halls with your presence again, and hand over your trinkets.
The guard removes the shackles from the narrator and snaps the strap of his satchel as he removes it. He tosses the satchel to Hasani, who then leads the narrator away through the hall and back down the steps. The others resume their position in the Great Hall. Exterior, the steps of the Temple of Karnak, day. The narrator remains silent through their departure from the temple, contemplative. He finally speaks as he and the servant reach the bottom of the steps.
She was rather impressive, I must say. Perhaps I truly have been back in the wrong horse all this time.
You're not bothered about your belongings?
Oh, no. Those I can replace anytime. Just an afterthought, really. That Cleopatra, though. Goodness. A specimen to be proud of, I must say.
Hasani takes a deep breath and looks around shiftily.
I'm sorry to hear that.
The narrator quirks an eyebrow.
You're... Oh, sorry.
Oh.
It's Burge.
It says Luke.
Oh, sorry, my bad. It's
You're
Burge,
sorry? I thought you served her every desire.
That's certainly what I tell people, only I'm rather worried old Cleo's losing her marbles.
Is that so?
And I've seen what you can do firsthand.
Hasani pulls out an ankh, which seems to pulsate with light.
I found this at the scene of one of their miracles. The gods are the key to a brighter future. I've been in the service of this pharaoh for a little while now, and I've earned her trust enough to save your skin, at least. But she's a feckless menace. She needs to be stopped. And you're the one who can do it.
He looks around again.
You should harness that power to really spread a message. You could spread the word of the gods and overthrow the pharaoh in one fell swoop.
Now, I do admire your enterprise and your boldness, but is this truly the place for such talk?
Oh, you're quite right, of course.
Hasani has a frenetic excitedness to him.
Meet me at the temple of Abu Simbel. By nightfall, I have just the idea to spread the word to the gods, the word of the gods, and then we'll strike.
Colour me intrigued. Very well. At nightfall it is.
Cut to interior temple of Abu Simbel. Dusk. We're in a dark and stuffy room in the heart of the temple. There's a viewing platform and some closed sarcophagi, as well as a large any ideas? As well as a large pedestal covered in dust. All is silent until we hear some approaching footsteps. It's the narrator.
Hello? Is anyone here? Rather gothic setting. Interesting.
Hasani, who steps from the shadows, speaks from the viewing platform. He's holding his ankh from earlier, only now it's attached to a large ornate spectre, which has several idols dangling from it. The narrator spots him.
I was wondering when you'd show up. So come on then, what's this grand plan of yours?
You really are a fickle bastard, aren't you? First you're praising the gods, then you take a fancy to the pharaoh. Now you're keen to support me? You need to get a grip.
Oh, that's unfortunate. This was all a ruse. Quite clever, but I have no patience for such games. The petty little man perished into dust where he sat.
But before he can finish his proclamation, Hasani raises the scepter to the air. The emanating light from the scepter seems to have stopped the narration.
The ceiling crumbled from above the pathetic prick, crushing him instantly.
Nothing. There's a small flicker of light from the scepter. The narrator is stunned into silence as his powers fail him.
You know, I know a thing or two about hubris. Very much lesson learned from me. I won't make that mistake again. You, on the other hand, shan't have that chance.
What?
Hasani, sorry, my camera's gone. Hasani points the scepter towards the narrator. The narrator is thrust into the air as light is drawn out of him. It travels in a mist through the temple and settles into the body of Hasani, who groans in pleasure.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
The narrator's body slumps to the ground with a thud. Guards emerge from the wings and place him on the pedestal. They set about clumsily mummifying the narrator off screen, presumably stripping him of his garments, slapping him with embalming lotions, extracting his organs, and wrapping him in bandages. They lower their completed project into a sarcophagus and seal it shut. Sorry, this is meant to be Luke.
Okay. Such a waste. Now, sharpen up a little.
Asani drops his scepter and is crumbled into dust. He clicks his fingers and is instantly adorned with a rather sharp black suit.
Excellent. Now, just one more thing.
His voice changes. Testing, marvelous. He looks around, flexing his fingers as new powers course through him. It's truly delightful to be back. All the guards approaches.
Everything okay, Has?
Oh, absolutely. Although, I must insist that you call me simply the Debonair. And that's the story of how the Debonair got his group back. End. Epilogue. Interior, the British Museum. Daytime, 2033. A school group is on tour at the Egyptian exhibition of the British Museum. There's hundreds of busts, artifacts, and relics collected from the era. Many of them depict the Debonair. There's a recreation of a tomb with a closed sarcophagus. A student walks up to it, curious.
Who is this then?
Ah, this was believed to be the famous dissident Torre, who was expelled for heresy. Nasty piece of work by all evidence.
And he's just kept in there? Cool.
Evidence narrator. The group continues with their tour, moving from room to room. They enter a large chamber. There's a 25-foot gold statue of the Debonair forming the centerpiece of the exhibition.
Pharaoh Debonair had this statue created of himself to honour his vast achievements. From the Great Pyramid to developing language and the development of agricultural tools, he oversaw it all. To this day, archaeologists are at a loss to just how he achieved so much during his vast reign. Truly a marvel.
The children look on in awe at the statue.
Is it true that the ghost of the Debonair is still around to this day? I heard they never found the body.
Curator chuckles.
I'll let you field this one, El.
I'll have to go to the museum attendant steps up. She has a name badge, E. Agora.
Oh dear, I've heard those rumours. Would be fascinating if it were true, wouldn't it? This is a museum of natural history. We don't deal in fairy tales and ghost stories.
Wink to camera. A loud crash can be heard from elsewhere in the museum. Ellie and the others look in the direction of the noise, but suddenly...
We're back, baby.
Sorry, I had to bring back the Debonair.
Debonair is back. Great.
It
was Hassani all along.
It was great.
It was good
Phil,
reveal.
that was like that was just a really sly way to get everybody to jerk you off in one cheeky little goes. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it.
It's good to be back.
Wow. Okay. So Debonair's control creation again.
Sorry.
Nothing will go wrong with this.
I can tell you all those dying inside.
No.
I killed him.
No, that's fine. I'll just have to kill him again. No, it's fine.
So talk us through your thought process, Phil. What was the kernel of your idea and what happened?
Well, it was kind of. I still had in my mind that we hadn't settled on what had happened at the end of Iolo's last story, where they kind of all been scattered off. My interpretation of that, because we had some discussions about it, whether it looked like they'd all been sent off somewhere together, or my interpretation was that they'd all just scattered through time into anywhere. So the Debonairs ended up in this aspect of ancient Egypt, I guess. And as creation is coming together, the Debonair sees an opening and takes it as per his original pledge.
Very cool.
And meanwhile, Ellie's in 2033, presumably studying some sort of natural history or something. I don't know. Possibly looking into ghosts. I don't know.
Is she? Does she have memories? Is she knowledgeable of the Debonair? Do you think?
I assume in that because they remembered their timeline, so they know what's come before it. They've just kind of woken up where they've woken up and tried to blend in, I guess. So anyone else could be anywhere else.
She must have been pretty seriously bummed out to have finally gotten out of that, and then literally a golden idol of Debonair in the middle of it. How knowledgeable are you of Egyptian culture right now, Phil? Are you an Egypt expert?
I think the gods all stack up in terms of like their health and merchant and fortune or whatever. I would guess. Don't look into it too far, but there's some Wikipedia searches.
When you were saying a lot of the sort of Egyptian, I suppose dialogue that you were using, a lot of the names, I was like I know this.
I thought you might be onto it.
Yeah, because when I read River God and it was like the Temple of Karnak. I know this.
I'm reading River God right now, so I was like, yeah.
Where are you up to? No, we'll say that for another time.
It's another stream.
Another stream.
Phil, did you know I've literally been to British Museum this weekend? Was that not?
No, not actually, but there is the Egyptian thing there, isn't there? Because I've been there before.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Did it stack up? Was there a debonair statue there? Or?
Yeah, the massive statue of the debonair. It was really weird. I was thinking, this got to be foreshadowing of some kind. No, it was,
do you need to look to bail at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably need to go shortly, but I just wanted to say, well, firstly, great script. Very, very enjoyable. And also, I thought when your camera cut out at the end, it was almost perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
What's happening?
It's good to be back. It's like, no,
it's
so good.
Allowed me to get into the voice a bit about worrying about what my face was doing. So that was good.
Brilliant.
Debonair's
And it was a genuine twist as well. I like that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it coming.
Come out of nowhere sort of thing. That hence the herald.
But I think it was bolstered by the fact that Adam had like me and Adam have essentially stripped it all away, so that you had that opportunity to sort of reveal the debonair. It was really good. It was great. Should we do the spinner really quickly so we know who's next?
Yeah.
So let's go for the.
Yes, summer holidays. I'm down.
I'll make it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did indeed.
Oy.
I'm happy to do it. More than happy to do it. I have time now.
I don't mind. Depends how whether you guys are in a position to do it as well, or whether it's easier just to give it to Luca, knowing that he has time at the minute.
I think spinning is fun, but
I think spinning is fun.
But I don't.
How about we spin anyway and just give it to me anyway?
I feel like Burge might have a script in him.
Go on, spin it. I've got 6 weeks. I'm fine.
Spin. Yellow. Oh, it's not stopped. I thought it stopped on the yellow. Hey. I thought it stopped on yellow.
I thought it stopped on yellow.
I want a Stewards and Query on it.
It's fine. I'll be done with it tonight.
You said that last time.
Any initial ideas, Luke, or are you just going to ruminate?
No, absolutely. I had a whole thing last time,
this is
is it still applicable, or
is it on?
It'll have to be tweaked. It will have to be tweaked.
Are you so can I just suggest that the next one doesn't become a history lesson just because you read River God? I want 4 pages of
It's going to be nothing to do with it. It's not going to have anything to do with Egypt.
We did Egypt.
Yeah. Next one's Norse gods.
Norse gods, yeah, 100%. Luke, you love history stuff, so I'm very much looking forward to your contribution. Because what was it? What was it that you really?
I'm not. I don't want to discuss it because I briefly discussed it with you, briefly, and I think it'll be nice just when it happens. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be good.
100%.
Like Ragnarok.
Spoiler: it's nothing to do with Norse.
Damn it.
It's gonna be you are the one that pining from the very get-go to have a future set of session, because literally you wanted to at
Cyberpunk.
one point, you wanted to cyberpunk it, so you're in 2033, not as far shot from 2077.
Maybe.
Cool.
Cool.
I think we're all good there, I imagine.
Yeah.
Pleasure
Good
to be
Thanks for
mate.
back.
tuning in. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
been
very,
good.
very
So
pleasant.
are we aiming for what? 2 weeks today? Is that a stretch, Luke?
Just
No,
leave,
I
leave,
say, well,
leave
it's
your
Thursday,
favourite
isn't it?
part
2
in the
weeks
comments
today is
below.
absolutely fine.
Well, I guess it's yeah. Drop a like, drop a subscribe.
Smash that subscribe bell.
Yeah. 10% off your next Hello Fresh
we need to
delivery.
market it somehow. We need to market this somehow. I'm all hopeless at like self-selling. We need to sell this somehow.
No,
This is
you
great.
need to make a million tiny debonair statues and just distribute them.
Yeah, what's
Merch
this?
is the answer.
Golden-
When you
yeah.
have 0 viewers, merch will draw them in.
Yeah.
Spend money buying things. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a date pretty as soon as we can, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't be. Well, actually, no. It's only next Thursday we can't do. So yeah, it could very well go back to Thursdays. All right. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Bye.